Hi, I'm Jim Moyna. This is Moyna Bass Fishes. We are recapping the last tournament on Lake Guntersville, which was part of the MLF Tacklewarehouse Pro Circuit. In that tournament, I finished 43rd place of, I don't know, about 150 some. And I had, what did I have? 44 pounds, 15 ounces for my 3-day total. So, not too bad. It was, the only thing about it was, as far as my strategy goes, I just felt like I was not fishing for the win. And the reason why I say that is because I didn't really know that for sure, but after my 2 days of practice, it seemed like, just from what I was catching, I wasn't catching any big fish. And it seemed like to me, yeah, maybe I could get 5 3-pounders. And it seemed like maybe the high end of what I could do would be like 16 pounds or so. Because I just wasn't seeing any quality fish. And I was stuck in a pattern that's what happens. Okay? It's the fry garter pattern. Okay, I was fishing around spawning areas. This was half of my strategy. So I was fishing around a lot of spawning areas, and I was just running into fry garters. Fry garters are the males. The males are the smaller. They run smaller than the females. So if you catch a big fry garter, that's gonna be like a 3.5-pounder. Okay, maybe a 4-pounder. But you're really limiting your upside by chasing that type of fish. You know, in the back of my mind the whole time, I'm thinking, well, because I did see some paired up females in practice, or females, males. So I'm still thinking, hey, maybe I can run across a big female on a spawning bed somewhere at some point. But that just never did happen. The other pattern I had was just fishing inside weed lines. So what I do is I take my Lowrance Active Target. I put my boat actually in shallower water, the inside weed line. The inside weed line typically ran from about 2 to 5 feet. You'd have like sand, gravel from the shoreline out to that depth, and then you'd have like an inside edge of grass. So I was just fishing that, and those fish were blind. I was just blind catching those fish. Well, a lot of the fry garters too, actually using a topwater from a long distance, but yeah, so I was blind fishing, and I actually felt like I had a better chance of getting a more quality fish on this inside weed line pattern, which, as it turns out, that's what happened. The couple better fish in the 3 1/4 to 3.5 pound range that I weighed on day 1 and day 2, they did come from this inside weed line pattern. And they came from an inside weed line where it was near a sharp drop, so it was kind of a quick transition from the inside weed line to the outside weed line. So, and the outside weed line typically was, I don't know, like 8 feet or so, 7, 8, just depending on the area. So those were the two patterns. The pattern that I completely missed out on the two primary patterns of the top 10 people. One was ledge fishing. Now I scanned a couple ledges where I've caught some in June in the past, and those ledges were like ghost towns. So I decided to just completely not worry about the ledge bite. But the winner, Nick LeBrun, congratulations. He won off a ledge, and several other guys did well off the ledges. And that's where a lot of these big females, go to after they spawn. Okay, the other pattern that produced some quality fish was the bluegill bed pattern. So, I was aware that this pattern was there. The bluegill beds that I found in practice, I found some that held multiple largemouths sniffing around them, but I never saw like a quality largemouth. They were just the same size fish that I was catching as fry garters as I was catching as inside weed line fish. So I just kind of didn't really pursue the bedding bluegill pattern really at all. If in the natural progression of the day I happen to come across a bluegill bed, obviously I'm throwing at it, but I didn't like seek them out and just try to jump from one bluegill bed to the next. You know, I fished everything in between. So anyways, so that was, and let me just say this. If you have a lot of fry garters, see, I can go back to my days when I fished Lake Minnetonka often, back in the 90s, early 2000s. The one thing I noticed with Lake Minnetonka, which is the same thing that Lake Guntersville had going on, is if on Lake Minnetonka, if I was fishing shallow and there were a lot of fry garters around, I was not going to win the tournament. That's not how you win on Lake Minnetonka, at least back then, chasing fry garters. That is not the key. You can post a decent finish, top 10 finish, but that was never the formula to win out on Minnetonka. So if you're just running around catching fry garters on Minnetonka or Lake Guntersville, you're capping what you can do. You're capping the limit of your bag. So, and on Lake Minnetonka, what you had to do, you had to find those female fish that were schooled up, that had moved out of the shallows, schooled up on inside turns, and just milfoil points, and just some offshore grass beds. So that's why I kind of felt, even while I was practicing, I'm like, man, this, all these fry garters, this is reminding me so much of the Minnetonka days, where if this is what I'm chasing, I'm not chasing the wind. And here's the one thing about my pattern. I felt like it was a pattern that I could climb with. I could climb the standings with it, because as guys, burn the, maybe a lot of guys maybe just had one offshore spot and they burn them or whatever. I felt like I could climb the standings through a consistent, decent bag. Well, on the first day I had 16-1, which I really thought that was a really decent bag. I thought that would be good for like a 30th place. It wasn't. It was only good for 60th place. So I misjudged the performance of this lake and the performance of all the fishermen with these fish. The lake was on fire. 16-1 and 60th place was quite the shock to me, and really left me really concerned after day one, because I didn't know if I could, because I felt like 16 pounds was about my cap, and I just hit the cap, and I'm only in 60th place. So, but going into day two, I decided, hey, I'm just going to keep rolling with my pattern, because I know this is the type of pattern that you can climb the standings with. So 60th place was already a money finish, but I wanted to, I was only 10 places from getting in the top 50. The top 50 get to move on and fish the day three. Everybody else goes home. So I'm like, I can make up 10 places with what I'm doing if things go okay. Plus I had a long day to fish. I had the late flight, so I really felt like, just stick to it, and you'll climb the standings, and you'll make, good chance you'll climb the standings, make the qualification for day three. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up weighing 16.9 on day two. I actually caught probably like 25 keepers, maybe more than that. The first day I caught maybe 15 to 20. So had a lot of action, a lot of catching. One key spot really produced a nice solid 15-pound bag. I mean a power pulled down right there, and I caught like 7 or 8 just decent fish, 3+ pounders. Well, right about 3 pounders, right there. So I had a nice, I had an acceptable bag, not a great bag. And then I was able to later in the day find, a couple like 3.5 pounders to put me to 16.9. So now the 16.1 plus 16.9, that moved me up to 47th place. Going into the third day, I qualified for the third day, 47th place. So now the dilemma was, okay, I know I'm capped out on this pattern. Do I change? Do I just maybe gamble and try something completely different? And on day three, and I decided not to really do that. I did spend some time messing with some other things, but for the most part, I stuck to what I was doing. And what the thought on that was, I mean, I knew from the beginning of the tournament what I was doing. I had a good chance for 14 and a half, 15-pound bag at a minimum. And, I just felt like I could land into that area. And I knew like a 14 and a half, 15-pound bag would move me up even further in the standings, which that wasn't going to win nothing, wasn't going to qualify me for the last day. But it'd be more points for championship qualification later in the year. And so that's kind of what I was thinking. Plus, you just never know. I could have came across a big fish on a bed or two and really changed everything. But that didn't happen. In fact, I caught the fewest number of fish that I caught on that third day. It was kind of a struggle. I did spend some time just running some new, quite a bit of new water, trying to just run into something, I hadn't run into it where I had been, so I was just trying to run into, the right deal, run into the right bluegill bed, run into the right spawning bed. But it didn't happen. In fact, I really struggled. I went deep into the day with just 3 fish, and then finally I caught a 4th one, which was like a spotted bass. It was like a 1.75 pound spot, no big deal. So I had 4, but can't even call it 4. And then finally I went to a spot where I hadn't been there since practice, and that spot basically put the rest of my bag together. Caught a lot of keepers there. The problem, it was an inside weed line spot again, but the problem was they were all the fish I caught there were running from 10 inches up to about 2 3/4 pounds. Couldn't get a good fish out of there, but I caught a ton of fish there, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Just so my bag the third day was 12.5, which it moved me from 47th up to 43rd. So I did gain 4 more points, not much. The whole other thing I could have done that third day was just gamble it. I only could have dropped down 3 places, just gamble and just try to, find something out on a ledge somewhere, or just run all new water all day. But I decided not to do that. Played it conservative. Finished 43rd instead of 50th. That's 7 extra points. So, which could make a difference later in the year. I got paid in the tournament, got my check, got out of there, done deal. Okay, let's look at my baits, okay, that I was using. That's the rod locker is locked. So let's get that bugger open. Okay, this. Okay, on this one, basically, here, this is what I was throwing, basically, almost at least half the tournament, probably 3/4 of the tournament. It was just an eco rig. I got a lead insert in here. This is a straight tail stick bait type bait, soft plastic that Billy Rub Baits, they poured this for me, so thank you for that. And I caught probably like 89% of all the keepers I caught came on this rig. So not covering a lot of water, just putzing along, picking apart inside weed lines, throwing it in holes, when I'm more in a spawning type area, throwing it in open holes in the grass where a fish might have cleared a bed, that sort of thing. So that was a big player. And you'll notice that I'm throwing that on an open hook instead of one of those weed guarded type hooks. The open hook will do a much better job as far as hooking percentage. With the open hook, I'm going to lose fewer fish when I set the hook. With that weed guarded, whether it's the fluorocarbon weed guards or the like titanium wire weed guards, it seems as though I just don't have quite the same hookup percentage with those. So whenever I can use an open hook on my wacky rigs, I use that open hook. And you might think, well, if I'm throwing it in grass, how you not snagging it? Well, this grass, a lot of it's eelgrass and that. Well, you just snap the rod tip, and that eelgrass is kind of brittle, so you can just, most of the time you can just snap it, and it just like cracks or breaks the strand of eelgrass. So you're really not having to pick off weeds all that often. Sometimes, yeah, but it's the trade-off is totally worth it fishing that open hook in that grass. And even when I'm like in Minnesota fishing Nico rigs or anywhere where there's grass, it's just the open hook for me is the way to go. It's just when I get around flooded bushes, laydowns, boat docks, that's when I got to use the brush guarded, weed guarded type hooks. All right, so next, boy, there's really not a whole lot of rods to show you. Here's just that's another Nico rig rod setup that I only needed. I only had 2 rods on the deck the second day, and it'd be these 2 rods, 2 Nico rig rods, all day. I went all in on it. However, there was a bait that I did like to use. I used it the first day, and I don't know. This isn't what I was talking about, but here's the Zoom horny toad with a double. I tried this for the first time. This double hook. If you guys had any experience with that, in practice it hooked up the fish really nice. The problem was in the tournament I couldn't get a bite on it. In practice, the little bit that I used in practice one day, the fish were just on fire on that thing. I mean, they were just blasting it. But I couldn't duplicate that bite in competition. Hey, this is a swim jig, which I didn't really throw much. I am looking here. I'm pretty sure this is it. This should be it. Yes. So I caught some fish on this and weighed them, especially the last day when I started in a spawning area. That's just a little top water with a prop, and it's a clear color. I don't know. It just seemed to draw some of those fry garters to it, but no big ones. This is kind of a smaller one, so I'm throwing it on like a 6.6 medium. Yep, 6.6 medium rod, so you can cast it. And then the other prop bait I had tied up, which it seemed like they tended to miss this one more. They wanted that, if they were going to eat, they were going to eat that smaller one for some reason. But I've had good luck at times on other lakes with this one, and just, I don't know, didn't really get into it there at Guntersville. So, obviously I got more rods in there, but we don't really need to talk about them because, like I said, that Nico rig really was the huge player with a little bit of supplemental top water, early morning top water. And the top water, and that, that plug I just showed you here, they kind of cooled down on that later in the day. So the fish, when the sun got up and that, they just didn't want to come up for it near as good. So that was an early morning strategy primarily. And then it was Nico rig this, Nico rig that, with the Billy Rub stickworm, which he doesn't really make it. He just made that a special pour for me, so I really appreciate that. But it's got that, it has that protein. He puts a special protein in all the stuff he pours. So that's why I wanted to use his. So anyways, the next tournament is going to be where? On the James River in, I don't know, a month or so. So in the meantime, I get to enjoy Minnesota's beautiful weather. Maybe I'll get out a little bit and fish around here. We'll see. Not feeling so good today. A little under the weather. So it's going to have to be another day. Anyways, thanks for watching. Over.